Jennifer Lynn Connelly is an American actress who began her career as a child model. She appeared in magazine, newspaper and television advertising before she made her film acting debut in the crime film Once Upon a Time in America. Connelly continued modeling and acting, starring in a number of films, including the horror film Phenomena, the musical fantasy film Labyrinth, the romantic comedy Career Opportunities, and the period's superhero film The Rocketeer. She gained critical acclaim for her work in the science fiction film Dark City and for playing a drug addict in Darren Aronofsky's drama Requiem for a Dream. In 2002, Connelly won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for portraying Alicia Nash in Ron Howard's biopic A Beautiful Mind. Her subsequent credits include the Marvel superhero film Hulk, in which she played Bruce Banner's love interest Betty Ross, the horror film Dark Water, the drama Blood Diamond, the science fiction film The Day the Earth Stood Still, the romantic comedy He's Just Not That Into You, and the biopic Creation. In the 2010s, she took on supporting roles in Aronofsky's epic film Noah and in the action film Alita: Battle Angel. Connelly was named Amnesty International Ambassador for Human Rights Education in 2005. She has been the face of Balenciaga fashion advertisements, as well as for Revlon Cosmetics. In 2012, she was named the first global face of the Shiseido company. Magazines, including Time, Vanity Fair and Esquire, as well as the Los Angeles Times newspaper, have included her on their lists of the world's most beautiful women. Connelly was born in Cairo, New York, in the Catskill Mountains. She is the daughter of Eileen, an antiques dealer, and Gerard Carl Connelly, a clothing manufacturer. Her father was Roman Catholic and of Irish and Norwegian descent. Connelly's mother was Jewish and was educated at a yeshiva. All of Connelly's maternal great-grandparents were Jewish immigrants from Poland and Russia. Connelly was raised primarily in Brooklyn Heights, near the Brooklyn Bridge, where she attended St. Anne's, a private school specializing in the arts. Her father suffered from asthma, so the family moved to Woodstock, New York, in 1976 to escape the city smog. 4 years later, the family returned to Brooklyn Heights, and Connelly returned to St. Anne's School. After graduating from high school, Connelly went to Yale University in 1988 to study English literature. Connelly describes herself as a studious student who wasn't really concerned with having a social life or sleeping or eating much. I was really nerdy and pretty much stayed in the law school library, which is open 24 hours. Most of the time I wasn't in class. After 2 years at Yale, Connelly transferred to Stanford University in 1990 to study drama. There, she trained with Roy London, Howard Fine and Harold Guskin. Encouraged by her parents to continue with her film career, Connelly left college and returned to the movie industry the same year. When Connelly was 10 years old, an advertising executive friend of her father suggested she audition as a model. Her parents sent a picture of her to the Ford modeling agency, which shortly after added her to its roster. Connelly began modeling for print advertisements before moving on to television commercials. In an interview with The Guardian, she revealed that, after having done some modeling, she had no aspirations to become an actress. She appeared on the covers of several issues of Seventeen in 1986 and 1988. In December 1986, she recorded 2 pop songs for the Japanese market, Monologue of Love and Message of Love. She sang in phonetic Japanese as she did not speak the language. When her mother began taking her to acting auditions, the then 12-year-old Connelly was quickly selected for a supporting role as the aspiring dancer and actress Deborah Jelly in Sergio Leone's gangster epic Once Upon a Time in America. The role required her to perform a ballet routine. During the audition, Connelly, who had no ballet training, tried to imitate a ballerina. Her performance, and the similarity of her nose to Elizabeth McGovern's, who played the character as an adult, convinced the director to cast her. Connelly described the movie as an incredibly idyllic introduction to movie making. While Once Upon a Time in America was being filmed, Connelly made her first television appearance in the episode Stranger in Town of the British series Tales of the Unexpected. Connelly's first leading role was in Italian giallo director Dario Argento's 1985 film Phenomena. In the film, she plays a girl who psychically communicates with insects to pursue the killer of students at the Swiss school where she has enrolled. Connelly next had the lead in the coming-of-age movie 7 Minutes in Heaven, released the same year. Of her early career, Connelly said, "Before I knew it, became what I did. It was a very peculiar way to grow up, combined with my personality." She described feeling like a kind of walking puppet through her adolescence, without having time alone to deal with the attention her career was generating. Connelly gained public recognition with Jim Henson's 1986 film Labyrinth with David Bowie, in which she played Sarah, a teenager on a quest to rescue her brother Toby from the world of goblins. Although a disappointment at the box office, the film later became a cult classic. The New York Times, while noting the importance of her part, panned her portrayal. "Jennifer Connelly as Sarah is unfortunately disappointing. She looks right, but she lacks conviction and seems to be reading rehearsed lines that are recited without belief in her goal or real need to accomplish it." In 1988, she began work as a ballet student in the Italian film Etoile, which was released in 1989, and portrayed college student Gavi in Michael Hoffman's Some Girls. In 1990, Dennis Hopper directed The Hot Spot, in which Connelly played Gloria Harper, a woman being blackmailed. The film was a box office failure, but Connelly was praised. Stephen Schaefer wrote for USA Today, "Anyone looking for proof that little girls do grow up fast in the movies should take a gander at curvaceous Jennifer Connelly in The Hot Spot." Not yet 20, Connelly has neatly managed the transition from child actress to ingenue. During an interview with Schaefer, Connelly commented on her first nude scene, "The nudity was hard for me and something I thought about, but it's not in a sleazy context." The same year, director Gary Marshall considered her for the role of Vivian Ward in Pretty Woman, but ultimately felt that she was too young for the part. Connelly's next film was the 1991 romantic comedy Career Opportunities, starring alongside Frank Whaley. People magazine criticized the film for exploiting Connelly's body. The marketing included a life-size cardboard cutout showing Whaley watching Connelly ride a mechanical horse, with the caption, "He's about to have the ride of his life." In an interview with Rolling Stone, Connelly said that a Yale professor brought it to her attention and, "That wasn't something I felt all that comfortable about." The big-budget Disney film The Rocketeer followed later that year, but failed to ignite her career. She played Jenny Blake, the aspiring actress girlfriend of stunt pilot Cliff, the Rocketeer. New York characterized the movie as pallid and said of her performance, "Connelly is properly cast. She has the moist, full-to-the-cheekbones sensuality of the Hollywood starlets of that period, but she's a little straight." She appeared alongside Jason Priestley in the Roy Orbison music video for I Drove All Night the following year, directed by Peter Kerr. Connelly next appeared in Of Love and Shadows, a 1994 Argentine-American drama film written and directed by Betty Kaplan starring Antonio Banderas. In 1995, director John Singleton cast Connelly as a lesbian college student in Higher Learning. She next appeared in the 1996 independent film Far Harbor as Ellie, a prominent person in a Hollywood studio who writes a screenplay based on her traumas. It was followed that year by the neo-noir crime thriller Mulholland Falls, which featured the murder of Allison Pond, mistress of General Timms, and the investigation by a group of detectives led by Maxwell Hoover. New York Magazine wrote about a clip that reveals the link between Timms and Pond. "This footage is actually dirty. That is, it makes us feel like voyeurs when looking at it, but it's so juicily erotic that we can hardly look away." About nudity in the movie, Connelly said, "It kind of shocked everyone who knows me that I wound up doing this movie because I had always been so careful about nudity. It was very much a part of this character and I couldn't be coy or guarded or self-conscious, otherwise it wouldn't work. It was sort of a challenge I wanted to take on, I guess." She began to appear in small-budget films which did well with critics, such as 1997's drama Inventing the Abbotts, set in the late 1950s, in which she played the part of Eleanor, one of 3 daughters of the town millionaire, Lloyd Abbott. About her performance, co-producer Ron Howard, who would later direct Connelly in A Beautiful Mind, said, "She not only was beautiful and seductive, but gave some difficult psychological moments in the film a lot of depth and complexity. She had an extraordinary combination of talent and beauty, and I guess I stored that information in the back of my brain." Her next appearance was in the critically acclaimed 1998 science fiction film Dark City, where she played alongside Rufus Sewell, William Hurt, Ian Richardson and Kiefer Sutherland. Connelly portrayed femme fatale Emma, a torch singer whose husband, John Murdoch, suffers from amnesia. As Murdoch is regaining his memories, Emma is kidnapped by Mr. Hand and the Strangers, who alter her memories and assign her a new identity. Author Sean McMullen wrote, "Jennifer Connelly is visually splendid as the 1940s femme fatale." In 2000, Ed Harris directed Connelly in the biopic Pollock, in which he played Ruth Kligman, Jackson Pollock's mistress. She also appeared in what critics considered a breakthrough film, Requiem for a Dream, directed by Darren Aronofsky and based on the novel of the same name by Hubert Selby Jr. Connelly played Marianne Silver, the girlfriend of Harry, played by Jared Leto. The movie also starred Marlon Wayans and Ellen Burstyn. Her character is a middle-class girl from Manhattan Beach who pursues the dream of establishing a dress shop. She becomes addicted to heroin and descends into a life of prostitution. Connelly prepared for the role by renting an apartment in the building where the character lived. During her time in the apartment, Connelly isolated herself, painted, listened to music that she considered that her character would, designed clothes, and used the time to reflect about addictions and their origin. Connelly also talked to addicts and attended Narcotics Anonymous meetings with a friend who was in recovery. Critics acclaimed the individual performances for the actor's emotional courage in portraying physical and mental degradation. Connelly said she became interested in the script for its depiction of the addictions and their effects on the lives and affections of the characters and their relatives. The critic Elvis Mitchell wrote in the New York Times, "Ms. Connelly too whittled herself down to a new weight class, and it's her performance that gives the movie weight, since her fall is the most precipitous. By the end, when she curls into a happy fetal ball with a furtive smile on her face, she has come to love her debasement. Her dank realization is more disturbing than anything in the novel, and Ms. Connelly has never before done anything to prepare us for how good she is here." Also in 2000, she appeared in Waking the Dead, a film based on the 1986 novel of the same name, playing Sarah Williams, an activist killed by a car bomb in Minneapolis while she was driving Chilean refugees. Initially, director Keith Gordon was reluctant to cast Connelly in this role as he did not consider her a serious actress. Her agent Rissa Shapiro persuaded him to watch Connelly's performance in Far Harbor. Gordon later said, "There was a subtlety and depth even to her gaze that captured more of the relationship than I ever could have hoped for." About her role, Connelly said, "Waking the Dead was the first film I worked on where whatever I did felt like my own thing. I was really trying to make something of the part and threw myself into it, so that meant a lot to me." The New York Times described her performance as Sarah. Ms. Connelly captures a burning ethereality and willfulness that are very much of the period. And she and Mr. Crudup connect powerfully in love scenes that convey the fierce tenderness of a relationship whose passion carries a tinge of religious fervor. The script of Ron Howard's 2001 film My Beautiful Mind, loosely based on Sylvia Nasr's 1998 biography of the mathematician John Nash, sparked her interest in the project. Connelly was invited to an audition after her agent Rissa Shapiro sent the producers a tape with a clip of the yet unreleased Requiem for a Dream. She was cast by the film's producer, Brian Grazer, as Alicia Nash, the caring and enduring wife of the brilliant schizophrenic mathematician, played by Russell Crowe. Howard and the producers eventually chose them after being particularly impressed by their screen chemistry. The film was a critical and commercial success, grossing more than $313 million worldwide. Connelly had the chance to meet the real Alicia Nash before starting shooting and learned more about her life. For her portrayal, Connelly earned a Golden Globe, an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, and a BAFTA for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Time magazine critic Richard Schickel called her performance luminous and the actress intelligent and passionate. Roger Ebert wrote, "Jennifer Connelly is luminous as Alicia." Although the showier performance belongs to Crowe, it is Connelly's complex work, depicting a woman torn by love for and fear of the same man, that elevates the film to a higher level. Connelly said afterward, "Is the film I'm really proud of and really love. A.O. Scott of the New York Times said, "There is, for one thing, Ms. Connelly, keen and spirited in the underwritten role of a woman who starts out as a math groupie and soon finds herself the helpmeet of a disturbed, difficult man." Connelly said that she became interested in Ang Lee's Hulk because of his philosophical perspective on the Marvel Comics superhero. She played Betty Ross, a scientist and the former girlfriend of the main character, Bruce Banner. The film was a moderate success. It was followed the same year by House of Sand and Fog, a drama based on the novel by André Dubus III. She portrayed Kathy Nicolo, an abandoned wife whose inherited house is sold at auction to the Iranian emigre and former Colonel Masoud Amir Bahrani. After reading the script, Connelly said, "Moving and beautifully written. I like the fact that there is no good guy and bad guy. I found it really compelling that both sides do things that are morally questionable because life is often like that." Producer Michael London said about Connelly's portrayal, "I think she understood Kathy and knew in her bones that she could take this character and give her the kind of dimension that she had. I don't think there is another actress who could have played Kathy with such power and grace." The film received worldwide critical acclaim, with a BBC reporter commenting, "Convinces totally as a selfish, desperate and lonely woman who confesses to her brother, 'I just feel lost.'" After a 2-year absence from the film scene, Connelly returned in the 2005 horror psychological thriller Dark Water, which was based on a 2002 Japanese film of the same name. She played Dahlia, a frightened young woman traumatized by her past, who moves with her daughter to an apartment in New York City, where paranormal happenings take place. In his review, critic Roger Ebert wrote, "I cared about the Jennifer Connelly character. She is not a horror heroine, but an actress playing a mother faced with horror. There is a difference, and because of that difference, Dark Water works." She played Kathy Adamson in an adaptation of the novel Little Children alongside Kate Winslet, a movie which focuses on the relationship between Sarah Pierce and Brad Adamson. Connelly co-starred in Blood Diamond opposite Leonardo DiCaprio, where she portrayed journalist Maddie Bowen, who is working on exposing the real story behind Blood Diamonds. New York praised her performance. "Connelly is such a smart, sane, unhistrionic actress that she almost disguises the fact that her character is a wheeze." Both Little Children and Blood Diamond were nominated for multiple Academy Awards. Her next appearance was as Grace in the drama Reservation Road with Joaquin Phoenix and Mark Ruffalo, a film released in 2007. After her son dies in a hit-and-run, Grace gradually tries to overcome her grief, while her husband Ethan becomes obsessed with discovering who killed him. By her own account, the character she played in the movie proved tougher than any of her previous roles. USA Today's Susan Willis-Jenna commented, "The strong performances of Jennifer Connelly and Mark Ruffalo raised the film above overheated melodrama." Parisian fashion house Balenciaga and Revlon Cosmetics signed Connelly as the face of their 2008 campaigns. Connelly portrayed astrobiologist Helen Benson alongside Keanu Reeves in the 2008 remake of the 1951 science fiction film The Day the Earth Stood Still. Unlike the original movie, in which Benson was a secretary and her relationship with Claude was the focus, the remake featured Benson in a troubled relationship with her stepson, portrayed by Jaden Smith. This was followed by a role in the 2009 romantic comedy He's Just Not That Into You, which also featured Jennifer Aniston and Ginnifer Goodwin. The film was based on the self-help book of the same name. Variety praised her portrayal. Despite its layer of darkness, Connelly gives a really rich performance as a woman whose principles back her into a corner. In 2009, she appeared in the costume drama biopic Creation, in which she played Emma Darwin, wife of Charles Darwin, opposite a real-life husband Paul Bettany. During the writing of On the Origin of Species, the movie depicts Darwin's struggle with the subject of the book as well as with his wife, who opposed his theories, and their mourning for their daughter Annie. The San Francisco Chronicle wrote, Darwin's wife, a religious woman who disapproved of her husband's theories, is played by Jennifer Connelly, Bettany's real-life wife, in the kind of casting that doesn't always work, but it does here. We believe in the Darwin's history together, their familiarity and affection. Connelly's English accent is also as good as Renee Zellweger's and Gwyneth Paltrow's. She doesn't get just the sounds right, but also the music and the attitude. She then voiced the character named Seven, an adventurous warrior in the animated film 9. Dustin Lance Black's Virginia premiered on September 15, 2010, at the Toronto International Film Festival. 2 years later, it was announced that the movie would receive a limited theatrical release in May 2012. Connelly portrayed the title role of Virginia, a mentally unstable woman who has a 20-year affair with the local sheriff, whose daughter then starts a relationship with Virginia's son. Connelly prepared for the role by watching documentaries on schizophrenia. She also spent time at the New York State Psychiatric Institute and the New York University's Cancer Center to understand the afflictions and obstacles of her character. While she was preparing for the role, director Dustin Lance Black requested Connelly's advice to design the set of Virginia's house, as well as the selection of the apparel, to create the character's style. She described the film as a very different and very personal independent film. According to Cinema Blend, Virginia is propped up by a strong central performance, with Connelly doing some of her best work in years. In 2011, Connelly starred in Ron Howard's comedy The Dilemma with Vince Vaughn. Although the Austin Chronicle's review noted, Vaughn nails it, and his nicely nuanced every-guy performance is aided by the always excellent Connelly, the movie opened to generally negative reviews. Variety remarked, Connelly, though a shade looser and more spontaneous than usual, seems stuck at an emotional remove from the action. Her next project, George Ratliff's Salvation Boulevard, premiered during the 2011 Sundance Film Festival. In the film, Connelly played Gwen, the wife of Carl Vanderveer. The couple are members of the Church of the Third Millennium, led by Pastor Dan. During the same year, Connelly recorded an audiobook version of Paul Bowles' The Sheltering Sky, which integrates the A-list collection of Audible.com, released in March 2012. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe